Hey, what's up, Helldivers? We're back with another video. Arrowhead has just released this morning a new update. In it, we finally get access to these computers right next to the armory. We get access to some new FRVs, some variants. We're going to go into it in great depth in a second. We get a brand new patch with a bunch of buffs to a selection of different stratagems, and we get some really nice quality of life, including stimming, even though you're being interrupted. That's amazing. So let's get into it. So starting with the patch highlights, we get the new Galactic War campaigns and the new control center. That's what we can see behind us. Basically, essentially what it is a new way to interact with major orders. You get everything that's happening and a description about like what's going on, what we get access to. So we can see that we have access to the supply FRV and the incinerator FRV on the two separate planets. If you take one of the planets, we get access permanently to that FRV. Pretty cool. We get the rewards and so on and so forth. It seems like there's going to be an active campaign. So right now, this is the only part of the campaign that's happening. But let's say there was like 5 steps. It would show all 5 steps here. And then for people that are returning, you get like a history, like what just happened. So I think this is going to be really nice for people that are like, you know, jumping into HE2 for like a couple weeks, and then they're leaving for a couple months, coming back for a couple weeks, just making it easier to jump in and out. Because previously it was just the dispatch and like going on Reddit or YouTube videos, and that just was difficult to keep up to date with what the hell was happening. So much better, gotta say. Also, the personal ones that they talked about in the dev blog is supposed to come out later, and I'm assuming it'll be in this menu, just personal orders. We don't know exactly too much about them, but they're gonna have maybe some form of progression or, you know, personalization to how you interact with the major order, which is cool. All right, next we go into the new biome. Hopefully my editor will be showing some gameplay with it. It's basically just the very pretty paradise planets, but it's fall. Looks nice. Bastion tank patterns. So all of your previous mech and FRV patterns are now there for the tank. Looks great. Vehicle armor upgrades. So for your tanks and your mech, they now have heavy armor in some spots. So the tank itself is heavy armor everywhere, except for those weak points on the side and the back. But once those break, it's heavy armor down below. Your tank does take damage when those weak points are hit, and it's like to a certain amount, but it's like not that much damage. It's just, I think, to, you know, make you care about the sides and back of your tank as like, you know, weak points, but not super big weak points, but everything else is heavy pen. So you're bouncing a lot of shots. Your mech has heavy pen on the front side, mostly around the cockpit itself and on the back, but your arms and legs are all medium pen. No light pen, it seems like, across the board on the mech, at least that I could see. Your FRVs are light pen across the board, other than the new FRV that has some extra medium armor pen or armor on the sides and the passengers cockpit, you know, area, which is pretty cool. Sentry health rebalance, they basically just gave it 100% more HP, and they reduced the durable damage of a lot of like melee enemies in particular. So sentries feel a lot tankier, even tankier than they did before the durable changes, in my opinion. I saw a flame sentry tank like 20 voteless for like a solid 15 seconds and then kill them all, then went after some other enemies, not dying. So it was pretty impressive, I gotta say. So we'll have to see how it performs against like other factions, but as far as against Illuminate, it felt really good so far. Reload improvements, this is mostly talking about when you dive, you can now reload mid-dive, as long as you don't have to do a stationary dive. Pretty sick. It makes it feel a lot better. It's similar to when they added the stim while diving. Same kind of thing. Decreased exosuit cooldown, went from 10 minutes to 8 minutes. I think that's like not counting the already reduction if you are on the same planet as the DSS, so heads up for that. Oh, one other thing, reloads. If you have a reload that gets interrupted by something else that isn't like a stagger or something like that, if the stagger is over within 1.2 seconds, it will then continue to try and reload. So those feelings of having a dead input should be decreased a lot, which is great. Throwable amounts. So basically, like, I'll show the list in a second when we scroll down, but basically like all of the grenades that weren't getting used very much got +1 maximum grenades, +1 on resupply, and just +1 at base. So I can show the list here. It is Giga got the refill, Dynamite got max amount of grenades, Seeker got all 3, High Explosive got all 3, Impact got all 3, Pineapple got all 3, Stun got all 3, Urchin got all 3, Incendiary got all 3, and Incendiary Impact. So gotta say, good changes. These were definitely the more less used grenades in the game, so it's really nice to see them getting some love. And I do think this is a good change for them, because often I just would rather use, like, you know, the pyrotechnic grenade just because it has 6, you know? So sometimes just volume of fire or just the amount of grenades is just as important as how impactful they are. So that's good. Stratagem rebalances. Orbital damage across the board is basically just plus 500 damage on durable and base damage, allowing them to one-shot larger enemies, let's say like the Bile Titan, more like reliably. 120mm barrage also got an adjustment, plus damage there. So just nice across the board. Didn't necessarily need to happen, but it's cool. Spear gun and sterilizer rebalance. The spear gun, not so much. Don't worry about that. It's basically just the projectile used to do gas damage apparently, and if you wore heavy gas or armor, you would take no damage from the spear gun if a teammate shot you. They said that was silly, so then they changed it. It does the exact same thing as before though. When you shoot, it blows up with gas. It's just the main projectile does actual projectile damage now. It's whatever. Sterilizer though, got more magazine. The wind affects it less. Yes, there is wind in this game. And the magazine's bigger. And there's more magazines. I think I already said that. But yeah, decent, good changes. Sterilizer continues to get some nice deserved love. Still not like meta or anything like that, but I think it's, you know, moving in a positive direction. So yeah, showing over some of those things. We talked about the sentry, reloading, the bastion, cooldown, throwables, orbital damage, and then here's all the nades. As far as the extra damage, one thing they didn't mention up above was the Eagle 110s got basically a 50% damage increase. Their explosive damage went from medium to heavy, making them more reliable and just explosive damage. And then on top of that, they fire closer together, because before they would fire and they would land kind of next to each other, but there would be this like dead gap in the middle. It's much closer together now. So for things like Bile Titans, Chargers, like Hulks, it'll be way more reliable of a one-shot. They're not going to be like outright one-shotting Bile Titans if you catch them on the side and stuff like that. But if you catch a Bile Titan looking straight towards you, you throw the stratagem and it comes behind you in a 45. If it hits the head, which it should, try to be aiming at the head, it should result in a one-shot, which is pretty sick. Just making it more reliable, which is good to see. Because a lot of the time I found that I just didn't enjoy using these because it just did chip damage, but didn't finish off the enemy that I wish it did. As far as in use, there was a couple times where it got like a harvester down to like 99% of its damage to health, and it was just like a couple shots of your AR to the weak point. But there also were quite a few times where it just outright one-shot it, which was extremely rare beforehand, basically causing the 110s to have to hit the weak points. It doesn't seem to be that way as much anymore. Okay, orbital rail cannon strike also got a damage increase to 1,000 or 10,000 damage, and the projectile to 10,000 durable damage. This will make more sense in a second, but good change. Awesome, love to see it. Exosuits also just got more health across the board. Fax recon vehicle got more health. The Charger reduced the turning arc, so now you can pretty regularly just run perpendicularly to a Charger in light armor and just not have to worry about having to rotate behind him because he keeps rotating with you. So they are much easier to dodge now, which is great. They got a bigger recovery window, but to compensate for those nerfs, they gave him a little bit more movement speed, which is pretty fair because I didn't want to see the Charger just become a lame duck of an enemy all of a sudden. Alpha commanders will no longer just run away from combat instead of fighting you, which is cool. This more has to do with the durable damage changes, so don't worry about these too much. The Vox engine received a pretty large nerf across the board. So you'll notice the max health is now 9,000. So assuming the rail cannon strike hits the main body of the Vox engine, it should one-shot it. Now I say main body because sometimes the orbital rail cannon strike targets the turrets on the side of the head, and if it does that, it shouldn't one-shot it because the bleed through damage isn't great. So we'll have to test that. We don't have access to cyborgs at the moment, but as soon as we do, we'll test that out. Reduce the max turning angle of its upper body so it can't turn as far as previous. So basically it could like cover its weak points before and stuff like that. It looked a bit silly. Also, like looking straight down, it was quite silly. So I'm glad to see that change. The amount of Vox engines allowed activated at the same time is 3. This one we've had a decent amount of debate on stream today. We have to test it out on actual cyborgs, but it was super obnoxious when you dealt with more than 3 Vox engines at the same time. Them just pelting you with rockets and their lasers was just insane. It felt just unwinnable at times unless everybody on your team had anti-Vox loadouts. But it like pigeonholed you into using certain loadouts a bit too much, in my opinion. I do think this will alleviate some of that stress that you have to bring anti-Vox stratagems into some of your teammates, bring it rather than everybody. But I do think because of all of these changes, it might be too far of a change, in my opinion, but we'll have to see. I think overall, I really like these changes, but you know, we'll see in practice when we get access to the cyborgs. Some other ones though is like Solo Silo and the Leveler should be able to one-shot a Vox super reliably now, which would also be a big change to Vox engines. But once again, we'll have to see how it works out in game. Elevated Overseer should be less obnoxious, basically just less accurate and not doing as much damage as before. Stimming is no longer interrupted by stagger. Basically, when you got shot, meleeed, so on and so forth, took damage, it would interrupt you from stimming. That sucked, and they've changed this. But I've already seen some feedback that like, hey, you're making the game too easy now, which is a pretty fair assessment. But I think Helldivers is moving in the direction of more arcadiness and not as hardcore of a difficulty game. So this is honestly just a good quality of life I think that many people's will resonate with. But I'd love to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments down below. Bunch of bug fixes. Just a heads up, the Flame Sentry and Lumberer did get the flamethrower fix, so you can now flamethrower things that are closer to you. You couldn't before. It was very awkward. What else? Just some like normal, like just bug fixes across the board. Apparently part of the Bastion's tank barrel can be damaged with light pen. I didn't even know that one, but yeah, that was a thing. When we were shooting the tank earlier today, I could not find anything that wasn't heavy pen. I did shoot the barrel a lot, so I can confirm that one's actually working. There's one that there should be less enemies going through like terrain and cover. They've continued to do balance patches and just fixes on that. Fix the eradicate automaton forces level could generate underwater. That one was always pretty annoying because half the like objective area was just underwater and you're like, I can't do anything here. Yeah, that was pretty silly. But overall, I would say I'm very happy with the patch. I did have a little bit of crashing issues when the patch first started up, but after that, I didn't have any issues. Maybe it was because I was joining people that were not updated yet. I don't know, but it seems like all of a sudden it started working. I haven't had any issues. For those who have not heard, they did fix the blurriness with the upscaling. There was a hot fix the next week, and they just basically upped the sharpness and overall performance of the upscalers. So it looks really good now. But that happened a couple weeks ago. But for those of you who have not heard. What else? Oh, and then in our ship, I'll just quickly show the customization for it. You can also see the customization for the new FRVs. So we got the Flame. This is the one that's a little bit up armored. You do lose the back 2 seats of the FRV. This FRV is slower, but it does have more HP, which is pretty cool. And it's like tankier because of that. You do have the turret on the back. It has 800 health of the cremator flamethrower, so it's like basically 1-to-1 in damage. Fun fact about it is it does blow up as long as it has 1 ammo left. It blows up like a 500 kg when this thing like just runs out of health. It's pretty sick. It happened to us by mistake, or like as a jump scare. First time it happened, it was so funny. Maybe my editor can find that clip for it, but it's super cool. And then the other one is the supply FRV. This one has the full 4 seats. It loses the back turret, but it gets an automatic turret. You'll be like, oh, it's only got 100 rounds, just like the booster. It actually doesn't. You can actually hit the button on the side. It'll be like an interaction on either side, and basically it'll reload your automatic turret, but it does take one of your 8 resupplies that you have. These resupplies are on par with the supply backpack. Basically, you know, you get like 50% of your support weapon and, you know, full ammo for your, you know, primary weapon and stuff like that. So just think the same as a support backpack. And then obviously your tank now has some very sexy vehicle patterns on them. Absolutely love the colors that they can put on them. And you don't have to unlock anything new. These are just, you know, if you had the FRV ones or if you had your mech ones, you have available to these as well. Yeah, overall, I'm really happy with this patch. I do think they've addressed a lot of issues that people have been having. And, you know, it's clear that this is like not the last. There's more to come through the dev blog that they put out not too long ago. So I'm very excited to see if we get a war bond maybe next week or in the next little bit, because they did say some time ago that June was supposed to get a war bond. We haven't seen a trailer or anything yet. I wouldn't get my hopes up just yet for the 40K war bond. We did talk about this on stream, and we did look back at the announcement. The announcement says more information about this coming soon, or like later this year. And when I hear that, I'm like, okay, this is probably not for another couple months. So I'm kind of expecting more of a normal war bond at this end of the June period. And then I'm assuming we get another, what's called roadmap pretty soon, because this one's about to end at the end of June. But at the same time, Arrowhead goes on vacation because they're Swedish based in the month of July, and they probably won't be back until sometime in August. And around August, we should be seeing our next major update, because typically we get a title update every 4 to 6 months. And what I mean by a title update would be like Hive Worlds, the attack on Super Earth, Cyberstan, right? Those are like every 4 to 6 months. And they usually happen, you know, around, I want to say like September, August. And then the next ones are usually around like February, March. And they kind of just go back and forth between those two updates. Hi, Luna, you want to come? Oh, okay. Luna wanted to say hi before the end of stream, or not the end of stream, but the end of the video. But anyways, everybody, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe down below. Let me know what you guys think of the update. Let me know if there's anything that maybe I missed in this update. I'm just trying to do all this off the top of my head. And also I didn't have like an awful lot of time to collect all this information. So I'm sure we're going to be learning more and more about this patch as the week goes on. But yeah, I think overall I'm quite happy with this patch, and can't wait to see more in the future. Much love, YouTube. Have a great morning, evening, afternoon, night, and come on by the streams in the morning. Remember, it's not on this channel, but the other one linked down below on YouTube, or come on by Twitch if you want to, you know, chat it up with me.